Yo, what's up guys? Josh here, and I just got to the Bellagio. We're gonna play a session at a new property today. I'm mainly here to get the free parking since I heard if you apply for the credit card, you can get free upgrade for the Pearl card, which gives you free parking at any MGM properties. So here for the parking, but also gonna check out the poker room. Since my Coach Arrow, check out his channel. He's one of the biggest crushers of the 2-5 streets in Las Vegas. He actually recommended if I want to try 2-5, the Bellagio is the place to go just because the buy-in's $500. So it probably plays a lot like the 1-3 at the Wynn. I'm not trying to play deep stack 2-5 and just lose my entire bankroll in like, 3 buy-ins, right? Or 4 buy-ins. So yeah, right now we're just on the grinders quest, from losing player to profitable player. Ever since we got coaching from Coach Arrow, we've been doing pretty well, but it's still hard to say whether it's just run good or play good. So gonna head on into the Bellagio and bring you guys along for my first 2-5 session of this year.
So in the very first hand of the session, we just sat down and the table is doing a double board bomb pot. So what this is basically whenever there's a dealer change, some tables like to do a bomb pot. In this case, it was double board. A bomb pot's basically when everyone puts in a predetermined amount. So in this case, we were doing $10 and you go straight to the flop. Then it just plays out like a normal hand. In this case, since there's 2 boards, you're trying to win both boards, and if you win one board and someone else wins the other, then you chop the pot, and you can also quarter the pot, etc. So basically, we look down at 6-9 offsuit. There's 6 players going 6 ways of the flop. So the flop comes 10-8-7 on the top and 2 ace-9 on the bottom. There's a spade draw on the top board, and the bottom is a monotone board. So we do flop a really good hand as we have the second nut straight on the top board and then a pair on the bottom board. At this point in the hand, I'm not really worried about the top board. I'm more concerned about the bottom board since I don't have any clubs. So I go ahead and bet $25 just to try to build the pot and potentially just take it down here since oftentimes people either have air or they're just like super nutted. That's the thing with bomb pots since it's pretty gambly in the sense that you don't really look at your cards until the flop. So any 2 cards are live. However, it looks like the low jack has a piece of it because he makes the call. Hijack, cutoff, and button all get out of the way. And the small blind comes along as well. The turn comes an ace of diamonds up top and a 4 of hearts on the bottom. This doesn't really change much on the top board, and the 4 of hearts now makes a straight for 3-5. However, if someone already had the flush, then it doesn't matter. So when the small blind checks to me, I actually slow down here and just check just to see what the low jack wants to do. And he goes ahead and bets $45. So that's enough to get the small blind out of the way. And with my straight up top, I go ahead and make the call. The river brings a 6 of clubs on the top board and a king of clubs on the bottom board, so we feel pretty good about our top board hand. Although with bomb pots, there's always the fear of running into the actual nuts. Let's say theoretically someone has, jack 9, then we basically lose both boards since they have a better straight than us on top, and then we get outkicked on the bottom. For that reason, I go ahead and check here. The low jack now fires for $100, which is just under a half pot bet, and we go ahead and make the call, hoping to chop. However, to our surprise, he shows queen 7 offsuit, so he was, I guess, just bluffing here, and we take the pot down. So win a pretty sizable pot first few minutes of the session. In the same orbit, just a few minutes later, we look down at pocket 9s in the cutoff, and this is the first hand of actual no limit we play, so we go ahead and open to $15. The button calls, and the small blind now raises to $50. The big blind, low jack, and hijack all get out of the way. And she has around 340 behind, so that's basically just enough of a price to set mine. We're essentially getting 10-1, $35 to win 340. So we make the call, and then the button gets out of the way. Going heads up to the flop of 8-9 king with the club draw on board. So this is a great flop for us. We flop middle set. So when the small blind continuation bets for $40, we go ahead and bump it up to $120, planning to get it in on the turn. And the small blind flat calls. The turn is a jack of spades now, making the board like super connected. Queen 10 gets there, which she probably shouldn't have as a 3-bet, but for whatever reason in the moment, I'm not sure if I got scared or I was trying to slow play, but I actually went ahead and just checked when she checked it over to me. So the action goes check, check. The river is now at 8 of hearts, pairing the board. We feel good about our full house. However, the small blind all of a sudden just bets 200 into us, leaving her $20 behind. I put the rest of the money in, and then she makes the call. I was hoping she had ace king, but of course she has pocket kings here, so we just run into a cooler situation where it's set over set, or boat over boat on the river, and we lose this one. The only way we could have avoided this fate was if we made an exploitative fold on the river, which is never happening, or we just fold pre-flop. However, I felt like with pocket nines and her 3-bet sizing not being that large, I feel like it was just worth it to call. So all the profits from the bomb pot go to this lady. Honestly, if I had known she was super tight, I might have actually just folded pre-flop. Since I had just sat down, I didn't really know how anyone played, but I don't think I saw her play many hands after this one. All right, on to the next hand. So this one starts out with 2 limpers, and then we look down at ace-10 offsuit from the hijack, so we go ahead and limp as well. Cutoff limps, button gets out of the way, small blind limps, and then the big blind checks his option. Flop comes ace-9-4 rainbow, so the action checks over to the low jack, who bets $10. With top pair, I go ahead and call. The cutoff calls as well. Small blind and big blind get out of the way, and under the gun calls. So now we're going 4 ways to the turn, which is a 6 of clubs. Action actually checks all the way over to the cutoff, who bets $20. Under the gun calls, low jack folds. And for such a small sizing, I just go ahead and make the call here, assuming that my ace is good. But this board is definitely getting pretty wet, especially for the limping range. The river now comes a king of diamonds, which seems like a relatively safe card since no one should have ace king here. So when the undergun checks, I go ahead and check as well. The cutoff now bets $35, who's the same guy who was trying to bluff the bomb pot. The undergun folds, and with top pair, I just feel like I'm too strong to fold here, so I go ahead and make the call. And we get shown the bad news as our opponent has pocket 6s for the turn straight. So we lose this pot. Fortunately, it was like a pretty small size pot. I think the only way that I could have maybe gotten this guy out was if I raised the flop. However, I feel like with ace-10, where my kicker is like pretty bad, I can't really raise there. So yeah, this is another reason you don't really want to play ace-10. And also another reason why limp pots are not ideal, or multi-way pots in general, since there's more of a chance your opponent has like a set or 2-pair straight. Like any strong hand that beats a 1-pair type of holding is much more possible when it's multi-way. So yeah, don't play ace-10, especially don't limp with it. That's the lesson to learn from this hand. All right, in the next hand, under the gun opens at $15, and then we look down at the ducks, pocket 2s from the low jack. So we go ahead and make the call, looking to set mine, and the hijack comes along. The flop comes king 7 deuce, so we flop bottom set. However, there's a heart draw on board. So when the under the gun checks to me, I'm not slow playing this hand. I want to build the pot as well, so I bet $20, and both players come along. The turn comes a 9 of diamonds, which is a relatively safe card as the heart draw doesn't get there. However, the under the gun now bets $40, and with my bottom set, I'm too strong to flat call here, so I go ahead and bump it up to $100. The hijack gets out of the way, and the under the gun makes the call. The rivers of 5 of diamonds now bring in the diamond draw, which I don't think my opponent should have. However, looking back, there's a chance maybe he actually did have a diamond draw with his betting pattern. Oftentimes when people just kind of like lead out of nowhere, they're either betting for value or they're just trying to price in their draw. And I feel like that $40 bet into 109 seems like a priced in diamond draw. This is all post-hand analysis, by the way. But yeah, when the undergun checks to me, I go ahead and bet $160 for value. And then he goes ahead and folds, so we take it down. Pocket ducks for the win. All right, in this next hand, the cutoff limps. I look down at the ladies, lucky ladies in the button, so I bump it up to $20. The big blind now 3-bets me to $60. The cutoff, who's the original limper, gets out of the way, and with pocket queens, I go ahead and make the call. You can make the argument for 4-betting here. However, as you guys already know, my 4-bet range is aces and kings. I don't even 4-bet ace king, although I'm starting to 4-bet ace king now. And yeah, I feel like with queens, I'm just gonna go the lower variance route. So that's what I do here. Go to the flop of 5-2 ace with the club draw on board. The big blind now bets for $40. We probably are beat here, but I feel like a $40 down bet into 129 is just so weak, and it'd be too nitty to fold to such a small sizing. So we go ahead and peel one. The turn comes a queen of hearts, Bink City, so we got the set. The big blind now bets $80, and I just flat call. I think in the moment, I just wanted to keep his hand in and was trying to slow play, not trying to get him off the hand by raising. So then we go to the river, which is the king of hearts. The big blind now bets $200, sizing up compared to his turn bet. And for whatever reason, I got scared again. I was like, oh, maybe I'm up against like aces or kings. So I just flat call here, and he shows ace king for the river 2-pair, and we take this one down. I texted Coach Arrow about this hand. He got mad at me. He was like, oh, I don't know why you're slow playing. Once you hit the set on the turn, you should just raise and then jammed on the river. Because the guy had like $200 behind on the river. So he basically said I lost out on value. And if I didn't raise the turn, I should have for sure raised the river and put them all in. Yeah, a little disappointed I didn't max out my value. Like, it feels good to win the hand, obviously, but I think it's very important for me to figure out how do I not only win the hand, but maximize value in every spot. Since the game of poker is such, right? Like, everyone will get the same hands and same spots. The people who are better at the game are the ones who can maximize their winnings when they win hands and then minimize their losings when they lose hands. And clearly I didn't do a good job of maximizing my winnings in this situation. So that's just another reason why, for me personally, I feel like my big leak with monsters is I tend to slow play and also like get randomly scared. And then I don't get scared when I have draws. Not sure why that is. I feel like that's just like a mental game thing. It's tied to a leak I noticed recently, which when I get up big early in the session, I play tighter and more scared and overfold. And then when I'm down, I tend to chase draws more and just am more gambly. So just something I've observed in my own play in recent times. However, this session that I'm talking about right now is from like over a month ago. So plenty of vlogs to come. All right, in the next hand, the undergun limps. We look down at ace-6 suited from the cutoff, so we bump it up to $25. The button calls, the small blind calls, and the undergun limper also comes along. The flop comes jack-7-2 with 2 spades, so we flop the nut flush draw, which is why when the small blind and undergun check over to us, we go ahead and build the pot and bet $60, and it looks like the button got a piece of it as he makes the call. The small blind gets out of the way, and the under the gun comes along as well. The turn is a beautiful queen of spades, so now we have the nut flush. When the undergun checks to us, we go ahead and bet $120 for value to continue to build the pot. The button calls, and the undergun gets out of the way. The river is a 6 of hearts, which is a brick. We have the nuts here, and I go ahead and fire a pot-sized bet, really just trying to apply maximum pressure, making my bet sizing seem bluffy. And the button actually thinks about it for quite some time before he makes the fold. I think this guy claimed he had the set here, either pocket jacks or pocket sevens, I forget which one. But yeah, I definitely bet way too large in the river, and I feel like my turn sizing probably could have been bigger as well, especially since on a board such as this, by the turn, the person calling was probably pretty strong, having at least 2 pair. And if he was telling the truth, then he would have had a set here. So that was just a total misplay, especially on the river, since I feel like I have to think like, okay, if this guy has a 2 pair or like, let's say even a set here, can he really call a pot size bet when there's a flush out there, right? So I just wasn't thinking through the hand at the time. Sometimes when I have the nuts, I just go crazy with my bet sizing, which is exactly what happened in this hand where I just freaking potted it. But I gotta think that like, normally people don't call those like big hands down unless they're, you know, nutted themselves or they have a really good read. So in this case, I probably should have just bet like 1/3 size pot bet or maybe half pot to induce a call, but I definitely lost value with the line I took on this hand. All right, so the next notable hand of the session, I look down at the pocket rockets and the low jack. I do not limp this time. I opened for $15. Hopefully you guys are proud of me. Just kidding. Button calls and we just go 2 ways at the flop. Flop comes 3-10-6 with 2 clubs. And of course, you know, if I didn't learn my lesson with the freaking pocket queens hand, I sure as hell learned my lesson here as I slow play and check for deception. And the button bets $25 and I just flat call. The turn comes a 5 of hearts, and now that I'm already in this weird line, I just continue my slow play line of checking, and then the button bets now $85, sizing up with a pot size bet, and I go ahead and make the call. The river is a 5 of clubs, now bringing in the front door flush draw. So when I check here, the button goes all in for 341. Honestly, looking back at this, freaking easy fold, but of course, in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, I already like slow played this whole hand, so I gotta just complete my line of check calling this whole fucking hand. So I go ahead and call. He shows pocket 10s for the nuts, basically. He has second nuts for a full house, and we lose this one. I texted Coach Air about this, and he got mad at me again. He told me I should not be checking the flop here. And definitely on the turn, you know, I could have thought about folding, but Coach Arrow got the most mad at me about the river, because I'm really not beating anything if you think about it. Like, let's say he was just trying to price his flush draw in with the club draw, right? It gets there on the river. I guess the only reason that I thought this card was good for me was, let's say he had 2 pair theoretically, then I would have lucked out and had a bigger 2 pair. But now that I'm looking back at this board texture, the only 2 pair he would ever have here is like 5-6 suited. He's not having 10-6. Maybe he has 3-5, but I don't think so since this player seemed pretty solid. So The pocket tens actually does make sense. And I guess he didn't 3-bet me pre-flop, so it was a bit disguised, but not everyone 3-bets pocket tens. Although on this table, I will say the biggest difference between playing 1-3 versus 2-5, especially this particular game, was it felt like every pot I was in was like 3-bet, and whenever the action actually went to the flop, then there's a lot of raising on the flop, turn, or river. So that was one observation I did notice with this game compared to like the 1-3 I play at Resorts World. So yeah, we basically double this guy up. We lose this pretty sizable pot and a lot of our profits. Feeling a bit down after misplaying this hand, I look down at my cards, a bit sad, until I see the pocket rockets again. So we're under the gun here. We bump it up to $15. The hijack calls. The cutoff, the same guy from the last hand now 3-bets us to $70. And, you know, we're not slow playing this time. We just put it all in for $649. Hijack folds, and the cutoff snap calls. So yeah, we go out to the run out. Queen 3-7, 2 diamonds, 8 of diamonds, 6 of spades. The opponent turns over pocket kings, and we take this one down. Just super lucky here that I happen to get pocket aces twice against the same person. And, you know, I feel like sometimes when you lose a big pot and then you get a monster the next hand, it looks like you're just tilted. So perhaps he just thought I was tilted. But this hand kind of plays out itself. Let's say we did go to the flop, like undercards, right? Would have just got in. We end up actually up a few $100s from this guy. So I guess, you know, you could argue that my bad play from the previous aces hand was actually a good play, right? Okay, nope, yeah. Butterfly effect not here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we luck out on this particular session since we honestly were up, playing well, and then we lost a lot of our profits. Then we got it back, and then some. Okay, so in the final hand of the session, I don't have footage of it, but I wanted to recap it just because it was a hand I misplayed and I got feedback from Coach Arrow. So basically what happened was I opened $15 from late position, and then the small blind, who was a Japanese pro, he 3-bet me to $80, and he was deep, I was deep, so I go ahead and make the call. So the flop comes 10xx 2 hearts, so let's just call it 10-6-4 2 hearts. It was pretty dry from a number standpoint. Obviously there's a heart draw out there. He c-bets for $80, and I go ahead and make the call. The turn is an offsuit 8, and then the 3-better now checks, and I check behind, and the river's a king, and he checks, and I check it back as well. And then he showed ace king, so he took that pot down. The reason I wanted to talk about this hand was because Coach Arrow said I should have bet half pot on the turn. Looking back at what he actually had, I probably could have taken it down. And in general, I don't think it's good to give people like a free card. That's why position is so strong, because you get to act after the opponent. However, I felt like in the moment, I just got scared. I've noticed that like when I don't have the nutted hands, I tend to get scared, like jacks here. I just got scared for some reason that I could be up against like aces, kings, or queens. I feel like it might be a mind game thing where I just think people are always trying to trap or like whatever. So yeah, I just played with fear here, and then a hand where I think I could have taken it down on the turn, I lost, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the last hand of this session. We book a win, but as you can see from all the hands that I recap, with the exception of maybe like a couple of them where I had like a set, so it's kind of hard to misplay that. I have a lot of room for improvement. Not only am I leaving a lot of value on the table, I'm just like not betting when I should. And something I've noticed with just my journey is for me to go back and analyze these hands after the fact, even though this one was honestly like 5 weeks ago, it's still really beneficial for me to see like where I'm making mistakes, because I'm actually making similar mistakes to this day, which is obviously not ideal. However, according to the Mental Game of Poker by Jared Tendler, you know, he has that inchworm model where you want to like improve both sides of your game slowly, like not only your A game, but also your C game. And I've noticed that like my game fluctuates a lot depending on my tilt factor, if I'm tilted or not, if I'm up or not on the session. Sometimes I play too scared, other times I play too reckless. And I think for me to become just like a really good player, I need to play level-headed and have like a profitable strategy to stick to, as opposed to like, you know, being fearless when I shouldn't be, or being like a freaking scaredy cat when I should just be confident. So yeah, that's just something I'm still working on throughout this day. Curious if you guys have any suggestions for that in the comments. I know I have people commenting some really great feedback in terms of my hand analysis, as well as just tips in general. So I know some of you guys watching are crushers, so curious how you guys deal with like, you know, staying on your A game or like bringing up your C game. Really just like playing a more consistent game in general.
Yo, what's up guys? So, just finished the session. Holy shit. That was a roller coaster. Oh my gosh. Ever since my Orleans loss, I've been trying to play, honestly, like more nitty, tighter, just like more straight up. Bet when I have it, fold when I don't. But this session, like, I was pretty card dead yesterday. I felt like I was involved in a lot of big pots. You guys saw the full house over full house. I hit like multiple sets. I think 3 sets tonight. Hit the nut flush. Aces, ran into a set. Next hand got aces and doubled up and got lucky. That bailed me out. Yeah, just overall, it was like a crazy session. And then I ran into someone who went to my college. So I went to school in St. Louis. And then someone who was waiting for the 2-5 game noticed my hat. So yeah, he was super nice. Shout out to Perry if you're watching. He bought me food with his comps, so I really appreciate that. In terms of the session, I felt like, yeah, it was like pretty intense. Especially because I'm trying to play profitable poker now. I just felt like there's a lot of spots where I made mistakes. Every pot was pretty massive. Granted, it was a short stack, $500 buy-in for T5, so it wasn't too crazy, but the post-flop aggression was absolutely like way more frequent and way more like prevalent compared to 1-3, especially the win. So yeah, I think it was a good session. You know, we were in for $707, out for like $1194. So profit of almost $400 in around 3.5 hours. So we'll take it. Just try to play poker like a professional grinder, since, you know, that's the goal for this challenge before I start my job in November, is to become just a full-time grinder for now and go from like unprofitable fish to profitable pro. And, shout out to my coach Arrow for always being there for me. He was the one who suggested if I want to try 2-5 to check out Bellagio. I came for the credit card, didn't get the credit card, but still got my parking validated, since if you play for 4 hours, you get it validated. And we'll probably come back another day to get the credit card so I can have the Pearl card, so I just get free parking at MGM properties. But yeah, guys, overall, like, pretty happy with how I played, honestly. Aside from the small mistakes, which you saw, no major blunders. I guess I could have saved some money on the first aces hand, but then I got bailed out by the second aces hand when I doubled up against his kings, so can't complain. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you like what you see, please let me know, or if there's other stuff you want me to include, then also comment. The whole purpose of this journey is just to document what it's like to go from unprofitable poker player to profitable pro. So that's gonna do it for this video. We'll probably go to maybe the Wynn tomorrow, or Resorts World, probably the Wynn, but who knows, maybe we'll check out Aria or come back to Bellagio. Gotta stay tuned to find out.